Someone in my Facebook group said they felt overwhelmed with having ME/CFS and didn't know where to start in terms of what steps to take for recovery. So what I'm going to focus on in this session is why you need strategies to address the overwhelm. What information you need to help you make sense of the condition and therefore reduce the overwhelm and increase the clarity. And how to go from overwhelmed to clear-headed. And how to identify the first steps of your recovery plan. If we use the analogy of going on a trip, obviously, let's say you decide to drive from one place to another, from San Francisco to New York. Okay, I never got to San Francisco when I was in America, but that's another story. So you need your car, you need the fuel, you need certain skills, you need someone who can drive, you need someone who can navigate, you need some tools, and you need to be able to know how to use those tools. For instance, if you get a puncture, you need to know how to change a tyre. And as I say, you need the map, and you need to know very specifically where you are right now and where your destination is. Okay, so actually I was sailing in the Greek islands some years ago, and there was a skipper on the boat, and at one point we were in the sea and we could see a few islands in the distance, and the skipper said, actually I'm not sure where we are. And she was a great skipper in terms of being able to sail the boat and stuff. She wasn't so hot on navigation, but as a Boy Scout I'd learned how to read maps, and so we got the map out and I was able to look at the map and say, okay, that, you know, that all these contours here represent that island over there, this is over there, and so we were able to take readings and work out exactly where we are. Okay, so here's the point. Something is difficult if you haven't done it before, you don't know anyone who has done it, you don't have a roadmap, and you don't know how to do it. It gets easier if you haven't done it before, but you know someone who has done it and you have a roadmap. And it's easiest if you've done it before, know someone who's done it, and have a roadmap. So for instance, if you have a dip, if you don't know how to handle a dip, it's going to be difficult. But it's easier if you've got some strategies for dealing with the dip. And it's easiest if you've actually done it before successfully. Okay? So I'm going to teach you a very simple method for dealing with overwhelm. And the reason why it's important that we deal with overwhelm is that if we're in a state of overwhelm, that generates stress in the body. And stress hinders the body's attempts to heal. Okay? So I call this the ISA method, and the I stands for identify. Okay? So we need to get all that stuff out of our head. And in short, this method, as I say, I will post the link to that really short video, but in essence, what you do is you allocate some time, whatever you can manage, and you can just write down whatever is going on in your head. Okay, you just write it down. And you know, when I do this, I spend 50 minutes, 50. And what happens is after 10 minutes of writing, or 15 minutes, I stop and I think, oh, that's it. But then after a while, more stuff comes, and what I realize is that stuff that I haven't been thinking about or that's buried comes to the surface. So it's a really useful exercise. So check that out. That's the first step. We need to get stuff out of our head. David Allen, who consults with big companies, he's written a book called Get Things Done. I think that's what it's called. But he says if our brain is full of information that we don't need in our head, it actually takes up, he calls it RAM space. You know, computer has a RAM, but it takes up space. So we need to get stuff out of our head, and actually simply using pen and paper to write things down is a really good way of grounding. So that's the first step, is identifying what's going on in your head. Okay, so the second part of the ISA, second part of the identify, is getting really clear on where you are. Okay, so if we go back to the slides, one simple way of doing that is I have created this guide, the 5 Fundamentals for Health guide, which, as you can see, focuses on 5 areas: nutrition, sleep, movement, mindset and support, to just help you identify some areas to focus on. Okay, so it's like initially I was going to call it the quick start guide, but people didn't like that name. But the idea is just that we can get some clarity and momentum quickly. All right, if you like to go a bit deeper, then I have created a video where I talk about the 9 steps I focus on when I'm working with people. And as you're watching that video, you can do an audit of the 9 steps to help you identify which areas would be useful to focus on. I go through each of the areas, I explain what they are, and then you rate whether you're red, I really need to work on this area, or orange, I'm okay but I could improve, or green, actually I'm really good on this area. So if you'd like to watch that video, comment the word steps, and at the end of that video I tell you how you can have a free session with me, and there's no obligation to be a client. And in that half-hour session, one of the things we do is an audit to get really clear on where you are right now. So the first metric with the H stands for physical health. You know, what score would you give for your physical health? The heart represents compassion. What score would you give for being compassionate to yourself? And we rate a whole number of metrics, and so your chart might look something like this, or it might be higher or lower. But again, it gives people clarity on what areas they need to focus on to get some momentum. All right, and part of that is identifying 3 action steps that you can take away and implement. All right, so yeah, we need to identify where we are right now. The next thing we need to do is to identify where we are by doing an audit. Okay, B is identifying the information that helps you make sense of where you are right now. That helps you explain why you got sick, what can support recovery. So when I developed MECFS initially, I had no clue why I got sick, and I didn't really know what things I could do to help me recover. So I was, if we go back to the sailing analogy, I was pretty rudderless. Okay, I had no sense of direction, no focus. I had no destination, no strategies for getting to that place. Okay, now I did read Dr. Sarah Myhill's book, and that has got some really good information in it, but for me it didn't address certain aspects. I know that part of the reason I got sick is because I took on a really stressful job, and I was prone to stress and anxiety before getting sick, and as I started to do my research, I started to realise that addressing those things were important, because they were still issues when I got MECFS, and they were hindering my recovery. Okay, so again, in that video that I mentioned where I talk about the 9 areas that I focus on, I do explain some of the factors that can contribute to people getting sick, and you have to decide whether those are relevant to you. They may be, they may not be. Okay, so that's the first step, is we need to identify by doing the audit, and we need to identify the information that's going to actually help us make sense of that condition and give us clues about what can help us move forward. Okay, that helps reduce the overwhelm and increase the clarity. So the S stands for select. First thing we need to do is we need to select, let's do a different colour, our priorities. Because if you look at this list and you think, oh, I've got all these things that I could do, what are the ones I'm going to focus on? One of the things I'll do after I've done that brainstorm is I'll put it down and leave it for a while, and I'll come back to it. And then I'll go through it, and I'll either do a kind of A, B, C. What are the A priorities, the B priorities, the C priorities? Or I could just colour code, actually, what are the things that are really important, the things I really need to do straight away? Maybe those. what are the things that are sort of, they're orange, they're not immediate priorities, but they would be good to do, and what are the ones that really just aren't a priority right now. Okay, so again, we're starting to get some clarity, we're starting to get some order. I might go through that, and let's say, for instance, I identify 10 green priorities. Okay, so once we've done that, we've identified the areas that we need to focus on, then what I like to do, and I've done this with clients, it's a really simple exercise, but again, I've found it really helpful. I've had clients who've kind of found it life-changing. For instance, I had one client who used this strategy I'm about to share with you to help her decide whether she was going to marry this chap. And she did. She did this exercise and decided he was the person for her. All right, here's what you do. Okay, again, get pen and paper. I worked with a coach who's a real advocate of using pen and paper. He said there's something grounding about it, that doing things online, it's not as, he says, it's not as powerful. There is something, I do like using pen and paper. I've actually reverted to doing a task list that is a daily job list, and have a checklist of things that I need to do that I do on pen and paper. Okay, I've tried lots of different apps, and I've just decided that I like pen and paper because I like being able to see things. I like to be able to scrub it out when I've done it. Okay, so we've identified, if we go back here, we've identified some areas. Let's say we've got 10 areas, okay, and we may have written them down. Oops. In no sorry, Mike, don't know why. Okay, in no particular order. We've just got them written down. Okay, so we've got them written down on the left side, and what we're going to do is we're going to have a line in the middle. Then we get another piece of paper. All right, and if we've got 10 items, we just tear the paper into 10 pieces, and we write each one of those things on our bit of paper. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, okay, 9, 10. Okay, so we've got them on 10 bits of paper, and now we just start putting them in order. Okay, so we might decide that actually the first thing I want to do is number 4. Second thing is number 6. Then number 5. You get the point. Okay, so we just start putting things in order. All right, let's say, for example, and I was chatting to someone recently who was saying this. They were saying, I think my first priority is to get some supplements, but I don't really know where to start. Okay, so next thing we need to do, again, another bit of paper, same pen if you like, is to just brainstorm, if that's the topic, supplements, is brainstorm. Okay, well, what am I going to do? It might be that I read Dr. Myhill's book, because she talks about supplements. Might be I check out Dr. Mark Hyman. I actually don't know whether he talks about supplements, but he's someone who recovered from, he's a medical doctor who recovered from ME. Actually, if people want to know who he is, let me write it better than that. Hyman. Okay. I might consult with a nutritionist. I do work with a nutritionist who did have ME/CFS, so if you'd like her details, send me a private message and I'll pass on your details to them. So it just, that person could just brainstorm some strategies for supplements. Let's say, for example, you want to reduce your stress levels. Again, spend some time just brainstorming ideas that come up with at least 5 ways. It might be, okay, practice meditation, go to Amazon and buy the best book on stress reduction, get a coach, whatever it is, just within your budget. I'm sure there's some great courses. There are some books. When I was experiencing anxiety, I did read a few books. I quite liked the book Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. I know some people with ME/CFS. I know one person with ME/CFS said they didn't really like that book, but I found it quite useful. But I have read a few books and they didn't quite hit the spot, and I have been thinking maybe I should do a short course on stress reduction, anxiety management. If you'd be interested in that, let me know, because that's something I'm considering perhaps for the new year. But again, just to brainstorm some ideas, okay? And then the next step, okay, so we've talked about identifying selecting your priorities, explore possible solutions, and then the next step is taking action. Okay, when I do these exercises, as I think I mentioned just now, I find it's really useful, especially when I do this exercise, is to put it down and leave it for a day or two and then come back to it. Just kind of helps process some of what's going on and help me kind of come back to it with a fresh mind, and then that makes it easier for me to start prioritizing and deciding what my priorities are. Okay, but then the next thing is we need to take action. We need to identify some action steps to help us move forward. And in this 5 fundamentals guide, I share a really simple strategies, like one sheet, which helps you identify some simple steps to move forward. Okay. There is another step, but this is about creating the daily habits and routines to help us move forward. And I've got some worksheets that you can access. But anyway, that's enough for today. All right, if you'd like to just end with a very short relaxation, then hang around, okay? Maybe let's put a little bit of background music on. Let me know if that's too loud. But what I'd like you to do, only if it's safe for you to close your eyes, is to close your eyes. Obviously don't close your eyes if it's not safe to do it right now. Statement of the obvious. But what I'd like you to do is just to bring your awareness to your environment. Just having a sense of what you'd see when your eyes are open. The colours, the shapes, the textures. Just have that awareness of what you'd see. Now bring your awareness to any sounds that you hear other than the sound of my voice. If There may be sounds that are close by. There may be sounds in the distance. There may be some sounds that come and go. Or sounds that are constant. But you can just allow any sounds that you don't need to pay attention to right now to just wash over you. As you bring your awareness to your physical body, just noticing the position of your arms and your hands, your legs and your feet. Just ensure that you are comfortable. You can adjust your posture whenever you choose. What I'd like you to do is just focus on one of your hands. And as you focus on that hand, focus on the little finger on that hand. And in a moment, not yet, what you'll do is as you breathe in, you'll say a word silently in your head. Could be any word at all. Peace, calm, love, trust, or any other word. And as you breathe out, you're going to say a different word. Could be one of those words, but different to the first word. So as you breathe in, you might say peace. As you breathe out, you might say calm. But whatever works for you. And then you go to the next finger and do the same thing. Then the next finger, then the next finger, and then the thumb. And then you go back to your little finger. If you find your mind wanders, you just notice that. Just let it go, as if putting it on a cloud and letting it float off, and going back to that exercise. If you lose your place again, just choose a finger and carry on from that place. I'd like to clock how calm and relaxed you are right now, with 0 being not very calm and 10 being extremely calm right now. It may be that your calm levels have already increased as we started this simple relaxation, but you can just clock what number you are right now. And let's just do this exercise for 1 minute, starting from now. Okay, so that's 1 minute. You can just clock what number you are right now on that scale, with 0 being not very relaxed and 10 being extremely relaxed. And if you like, you can share those two numbers in the chat. So thanks for joining me. Thanks for watching. If you've got any comments, just pop them in the chat. It's useful if you tag me, type my name, and it should come up. Then I get notified. As I said, if you'd like that guide, the 5 fundamentals guide, just pop the word 5 in the chat. At the end of that document is a link to the video I talked about, where I talk about the 9 steps. So you can, if you want to watch the video, you can just click on the link at the back of the document. But anyway, for now, I'll say thanks for watching, wishing you great health. Bye for now.